In terms of my message tonight, and I'll keep it brief, you'll see from the overhead, the points are unity, connection and support. Now, I just want to say a few words about COVID. I think so much has been said before that I don't need to say too much, but it's clearly there have been difficult times for all of us as Victorians. And I appreciate there must have been stressful times for you all and your families. But on behalf of the CV board, I'd like to thank you all for your loyalty and dedication as we work our way together through what is a difficult situation. Our board's focus will remain the welfare of men's, women's and junior cricket at all levels throughout metropolitan, regional and country Victoria. As we emerge from COVID restrictions, cricket will have a crucial role as one of the first major sporting activities likely to become available to the public. And I can confidently say that that is true. Andrew and I have meetings that are arranged presently with representatives of the Victorian government, and it's clear to us how important cricket is seen in terms of the community's recovery from COVID. And I want to emphasise the work that you all do is extremely important to the well-being of the entire Victorian community, not only for physical, but for mental health, for people to be able to get back to play. So our first priority is to get cricket back up and running with a safe return to cricket this season, and we couldn't do it without your help. In terms of metropolitan competitions, we're trying to assist competitions and clubs with their compliance with COVID, to ensure safe environments, to ensure the seasons can resume in accordance with the government health directives as early as possible. And I want to thank you all and all the thousands of volunteers in clubs throughout Victoria for your ongoing commitment and dedication. You really are the heart and soul of our sport. I want to reassure all members that as chair, I will make every effort to lead a united Cricket Victoria at all times to further the best interests of cricket. We recognise it's important that clubs and their volunteers feel connected to CV, and tonight's session is a step in that process. In terms of connection, I realise that there will be many of you who haven't met me. Now, I want to make sure I change that as much as possible after COVID allows or removes the restrictions, and I'll be making every effort to try and get round within community cricket. It only just dawned on me before this night started, I think I've got good connections within community cricket, having played it in subbies and also in local comps. And I'm pretty sure that Phil O'Mara was a proposer or a seconder for me in my last election to the board. So I just want to make a comment about, okay, what are we looking at beyond COVID? Because that's important. It's clear we had to make some difficult decisions in response to COVID. We recognise we reduced numbers on the ground in the community space. Moving forward, the board will carefully consider the strategic investment of resources back into the community. And I just want to finish by wishing you all and your families all the best in the coming months, and hope that you all remain healthy and strong as we wait for life to hopefully start to return to normal as soon as possible. So thank you, John. That's all I'd like to say.
Thanks very much, David. I think we're having a few technical issues with our Auslan presenters. Hopefully people can see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my video. I will continue to talk, but I will stop my video so that you can we can work through this little technical glitch so that people can see our Auslan presenters, both Chelsea and Nicole. All right, without any further ado, I'll pass to our CEO, Andrew Ingleton. For those that don't know Andrew, Andrew originally grew up in Stawell. He's a country boy and played for the Stawell Youth Police Club. And in his travels, in his studies, eventually ended up in Melbourne, played lots of Premier cricket, and also was one of a really strong sporting family. You may know some of the Ingletons through either Premier cricket or even through the St Kilda Football Club where Ben played. So that's a little bit about Andrew's sporting background, but we're here for cricket tonight, so I'll pass to Andrew straight away. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I guess listening to David talk about where his love of cricket began, I think mine did begin in the backyard with my two brothers, and very much encouraged by my father and mother. In fact, my mother was a pretty handy bowler. For those of you who don't know, my father passed away about 3 weeks ago, and among the very first people to ring and offer their condolences were former members and current members of the Stawell Police Youth Club, where Dad played for 20 years and where I played and my brothers played as kids. And I just reflected on the wonderful community and support that cricket clubs and indeed all sporting clubs can provide, and that was a great comfort to us. David paid tribute to Dino, and I just wanted to share with you, if you haven't seen it, I'll make sure this gets shared to everyone on the call. But we received a tribute from the Ashwood Cricket Club just over there in Ashwood, where Dino started his career, and the club very proud of the fact that he commenced there. He made 214 in an under-14s grand final. Even as he moved on to higher honours, he would return to the club when he couldn't train at Carlton or when he couldn't train at Victoria and terrorise the bowlers. And indeed, one of the anecdotes they shared, which I think speaks volumes for Dean, was that after his first tour of the West Indies, he returned home in the morning and that night was at the Ashwood Cricket Club handing out trophies to the lucky recipients. So very much a man who gave back to the cricket community, someone who loved the game and no doubt inspired generations of cricketers down at Ashwood. All right, I'll move on. I wanted to quickly touch on our short-term priorities, which is very important, clearly, in this incredibly unprecedented times. We felt it was really important to set some simple priorities for our people and ensure that we're all focused on 2 or 3 absolutely key objectives for the next 6 months. The first priority is to ensure that our people are well supported and cared for. We want to make sure that the life lessons and the agile and adaptive responses to COVID that we've all had to find becomes embedded in the organisation. And we're planning for a successful return to the Junction Oval when we can, and we hope that we can find some learnings from this time working from home and understand how resilient we actually are and the challenges we've overcome, and really map a new way forward. So that's our first priority. The second priority is to ensure that our high performance teams, our state squads and our W and BBL teams get back onto the park and compete in the national competitions. We've spent a considerable amount of time developing return to play, return to train plans centred around hub life and quarantine processes and pre-tour isolation. I'm sure Chris Rogers may expand on exactly what that's all about right now, but I know that our men's Victorian squad is preparing to head off to South Australia to go into quarantine or in pre-isolation, and I think we'll have had 2 COVID tests by now and will require a 3rd before they leave. So some very serious preparation. We want to make sure that our players are well prepared, well supported when they're in their hubs and can perform to the best of their ability. So that's very much a focus. Likewise, we're absolutely dedicated to supporting the wider cricket community to return to play. And as all of you will know, we've spent a considerable amount of time developing policies and resources and guidelines and building, hopefully, a really useful resource on our website that can support you in planning for training and getting back on the park. And we'll continue to update that information. I think we'll share a little bit more about that later today, and we'll continue to work with you. We'll work with government to perhaps amend some of the impractical recommendations that are first provided. And, there's been some recent examples of that, I think, in terms of numbers of supporters allowed at community cricket games and sharing of equipment. And through our lobbying of the state government and the health department, we've been able to have some of those restrictions removed. We're also really focused on protecting our revenue. Clearly, we had to make some difficult decisions earlier in the year, both as a result of Qriket Australia seeking to reduce our funding and also in anticipation of the impact of COVID on revenues that we generate. And we've been very careful about our longer term financial position, and right now looking to be very agile to basically be able to adapt to whatever we're confronted with from I guess a cost and revenue perspective. And some of those challenges are pretty interesting. You can imagine the costs associated with the biosecurity overlays of hubs and charter flights and isolation and COVID testing, all of those things, which is going to increase the cost of participation this year. If there's no BBL cricket in Melbourne before Christmas, and hopefully we'll be able to have some after Christmas, but if there's no games in our stadiums here, then our ticket sales are impacted, our membership sales could be impacted. So there's a number of variables that we have to manage carefully, but we've been prudent in our budgeting and we've got some contingency built in, but we're doing everything that we can to protect our revenue, including working closely with government to understand what opportunities there are to receive support from them. Final thing we're very focused on is making sure that we communicate successfully with the broader community, make sure that the COVID landscape is shared, make sure that we have a strong Victorian voice in the media, and both government and our fans are well informed on Victorian cricket performances, and indeed get to know our players in a more intimate way, which is something that we're planning as we have our players locked up in hub life. So that's a summary of our short-term priorities. I'll just turn to a bit of a longer-term outlook for you. I guess from a longer-term perspective, trying to paint a picture of what 2022 might look like, 3-5 years down the track. You know, we're aspiring to ensure that participants are excited and inspired to become registered club players. We're really aiming to drive sustainable participation. We want to ensure that our elite players and teams are performing consistently and striving and reaching higher honours within a high-performance system that's acknowledged as a leader in world sport. Clearly, we want to attract and retain employees who love what they do and enjoy their role in the sport. Through innovation, we're aiming to ensure that volunteers and teachers and administrators who support the game and deliver the quality experiences on the ground feel connected and better supported than ever before. And women and girls will enjoy cricket as much as men and boys. And finally, fans who are thrilled and enjoying cricket the way they want to watch it. That's a bit of a visual. In terms of our key strategic themes, they remain the same. We're aiming to grow the game, ensure that we're creating the best participation experiences to grow junior cricket and inspire the next generation of players and fans. As I mentioned, we want to promote cricket effectively, emphasising the social and community benefits that flow from playing and being involved in a club. And we'll continue to support the Victorian cricket community facilities and infrastructure needs that ensure that our players have the facilities they need to develop their games and enjoy their time within the club and association framework. We'll invest in training and technology to connect and enable our community cricket field force and coach and talent specialists to continue to support you, our volunteers, to deliver those quality playing experiences. We're also aiming to develop more players for higher honours and ensure that we have the finest high performance system for our players. That will involve maintaining and developing our world-class training and playing facilities, continuing to invest in our coaching resources and our support staff, our sports science and sports medicine experts, strength and conditioning staff, and really ensure that we're developing players for national teams. Underpinning that is a vibrant and strong Premier Cricket competition that's also helping develop players and coaches for higher honours. And we want to ensure we've established an integrated youth pathway for Victorian cricket that connects the state and enables the identification and development of talented young players. We want to continue to maintain and grow our fan base through the WBBL, and we'll do so relentlessly promoting our clubs, driving for fan attendances and higher memberships, making sure we secure the best talent and coaches and resources. And to do so, we need to retain and grow our sponsorship portfolio and indeed ensure that we have a sustainable financial model that enables us to allocate our resources appropriately and invest in the strategic themes that I've outlined. Some of the elements of delivering that sustainable financial model include ensuring that, the next Cricket Australia funding model is activity-based and we're well placed to benefit from that, that we maintain the strong relationships with government that we enjoy and continue to enjoy the funding that we do. As I mentioned earlier, that we secure appropriate sponsorship for our assets and our BBL clubs, and we continue to drive membership and ticketing outcomes and activate the Junction Oval. All of these are elements of building a longer-term financial model for Victorian cricket that enables us to continue investing in the game. Thank you, Clinton.
Thanks very much, Andrew. We've got a couple of questions here that might be, given what you've just outlined, might be appropriate for you to respond to. One is around just the perception of community cricket and staff numbers being reduced, and just some plans going forward. As the General Manager for Community Cricket and key stakeholders, obviously in Andrew's plan, he talked about making sure our financial position is stabilised and strengthened, and then decisions will be made going forward around that. Andrew, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, look, I think, John, obviously we had to make some really difficult decisions, and certainly the cut to community cricket roles was extensive, but the impacts across the organisation were significant as well. Obviously, in community cricket, it was primarily connected to workforce costs. In the Big Bash, it was we made savings in our operational expenditure. We've extended our shared service model, and we've significantly reduced our seasonal roles. And there are other savings in high performance and administration across the whole organisation. What we tried to do from a community cricket perspective was preserve our area structure. Everyone should be aware now that we retain 4 areas with 3 key people in each area, and we will aim to selectively reinvest as we establish that sustainable financial position. That investment will be driven by strategic needs. It'll be driven by the opportunity that exists in areas. It'll be driven by some of the geographic challenges that exist. It'll be supported by a different model, I think, in terms of how we service the community and better leveraging of technology, which is something that we've certainly accelerated our learning through this period, and that's one of the benefits of the period. So, our objective is clearly to continue to support and connect community cricket volunteers and clubs and associations and we'll do so as our financial position allows.
Thanks, Andrew. And look, I suppose just for context for people on the call, look, nationally, between 25 and 30% of community cricket staff have actually been put off due to the current circumstances. So Cricket Victoria, you know, is part of the collective, if you like, who have been impacted. And in addition to that, you will have seen with NRL, with the AFL, and other sports, you know, this impact has gone deep, and it's really hit community cricket. What I would say though is the team that we've got. I know many of you have been engaged with our representatives from our 4 areas, which Andrew outlined through various webinars that I touched on earlier. But also, you know, they're looking to work and support, particularly at the moment in the lead up to COVID, looking to support you and provide any advice, connect you to resources around grants, around facilities, around upcoming timings, around junior blasters and master blasters and girls competitions. So they'll continue to do that. There's a question there from RecLink Australia around the engagement with community cricket to understand what their needs are. And certainly we know that through that network, we also know through our affiliate bodies and our associations, and through, we have net provider scores on our My Cricket site as well, around Woolworths Cricket Blast programs as well. And through surveys, we will continue to ask these questions. We will continue to try to understand what the cricket community needs. And so we'll continue to look to strengthen that network. So thank you for those questions. Clinton, I'm not sure if there's any others there for Andrew. That while we've got Andrew or David just on the line there, if we could perhaps, is there any others there, can you see? I can't see any more.
Not that I can see, John.
Okay, thank you very much. And look, before I pass to, thank you, Andrew, thanks very much. Before I pass to Paul Milo to talk more about COVID specifically, I just would remind you that the resources are all on the website, and there's been lots of questions around COVID already. And there's lots of, there's a frequently asked questions sheet which has over 40 responses to the key questions you've got. That website is continually being updated, and that is your point of call for some of your specific questions. Keep writing them in, and if they can be answered immediately, that you will get a written response there as well. And by the way, we are recording tonight, and we will be collating all the questions that we receive. So again, encourage you to keep those coming. So without any further ado, I'll pass on to Paul Milo, who is our Head of Member Services. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, John. Appreciate the opportunity to have a chat tonight, and I'll just put my video on to make that a little bit easier. As John said, we've just updated the website, so we've added a section there under the COVID safe area within the community cricket space. So if you get to cricketvictoria.com.au under the club section, so we've already updated the stage 2 version of the COVID safe plan, the editable plan for clubs. That plan doesn't, you don't have to use the Cricket Victoria plan, but rest assured we've spent hours and hours and hours and weeks to try and make your life easier. So that is an editable plan for clubs. We've been engaging with the councils to keep them up to date on those plans as well. They're certainly really happy with the work that's gone into it. So the version 1 has been updated over the course of the last week, now that Melbourne's moved into to step 2. And we've had a couple of updates along the way, as Andrew said earlier. We will continue to advocate on behalf of cricket. Certainly Cricket Victoria and all of our regional staff want to see cricket as normal as possible. We're obviously dealing in a pandemic situation. The Department of Health and Human Services provide guidance for all sports that comes down from Sport Australia, but also what's appropriate within Victoria as well. So all of those things that come down, we continue to advocate where we see some opportunity there to work together with the state government on. As Andrew said, some of those things have been about spectators. We certainly understand we're all connected to community cricket clubs. We understand that's not practical. We went in to advocate, and we've had a great outcome there that the spectator ruling has been removed within the week that it was put up. Sharing of equipment, we knew that'd be a massive impost as well. We've gone into to bat there. So the latest update, and I appreciate that a lot of people have been to the webinars. The webinars are also on the website as well. On the home page, when you get to the Cricket Victoria website, is the current version 1, but that'll be updated tomorrow. So once you get into the COVID area, as John said, the frequently asked questions are there. There's about 40 questions. It's only just gone live in the last hour, so some of the answers are still being populated in the back, but keep checking that website for all the latest information. Some of the things that we're still working on is in relation to access to school ovals. We're trying to get the group size increased from 10 to 11. We're trying to get face masks, which at the moment are required for essentially people standing still like umpires, but we're trying to get that overturned. We understand the impact there. We're continuing to advocate in that space and pitch curation as well, if that's done by volunteers. So we'll continue to update as we go. There's about half a dozen things that we're still advocating for. Certainly if there's anything affecting your club, reach out to your regional staff. They'll escalate that internally, and there's people at so myself and Luke and others at CV will continue to work daily with SRV and DHHS to get a better outcome for cricket. So I guess to wrap up, it's something that we certainly feel the pain that's out there. We want cricket to be as normal as possible, but it will be different. It'll be different to what you see on TV. As it was mentioned earlier, and Andrew talked about the biosecurity measures that are in place at international cricket level. So what they can do on the field, similar to what you've seen at AFL level, will be different to community cricket. So certainly bear with us. We're advocating for you. We're here to help, but there'll need to be just a little bit of patience while there's some new measures that are in place. That's probably a high-level summary from me, John, just on everything COVID. But definitely check out the website. It's been updated in the last couple of hours for clubs.
Thank you very much, Paul. Again, Paul's done a wonderful job, and again, thanks to our peak bodies who have been involved in compiling those frequently asked questions and helping us to build those resources, as well as our field staff. So thanks, Paul. Thanks very much. Okay, without any further ado, I'd like to pass on to Emma Gallagher, who is one of our cricket managers, and she's based in the southeast, and she's going to take over interviewing responsibilities of our very special guest, Chris Rogers, our Victorian men's coach. So over to you. Thank you, Emma and Chris.
Thanks, John. And hi, Chris. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining us, especially when I know, as Andrew mentioned, you're sort of in preparations with Shield not far away, and obviously quarantining, etc., with that being hosted in Adelaide as well. So really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Pleasure. Just got back from the ground, so still in the kit. Haven't had a shower yet, so apologies for that.
The smell doesn't come through on Zoom, so you're fine. On that, so what have you been doing today, and can you talk us through what some of your preparations are like at the moment for yourself and the squad?
We started a 3-day intra-squad game today. We have already played 4 intra-squad matches, so that there've been more kind of 50 overs each. That was a couple of weeks ago. We went back into the nets last week, and then we had this 3-day game this week. So in many respects, we've been very privileged having City Power Stadium and Junction Oval to as our own facility to be able to get the facilities that we've needed has been excellent. So we've had plenty of time outside, which has been a bit of a surprise this time of the year in Melbourne, but the weather's been pretty kind, so it's been pretty fortunate. So the guys are in a pretty good space. We leave on Monday to go to Adelaide, and we do 2 weeks of quarantine. The kind of the protocols seem to be changing every day, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But yeah, and then we get into hub life, and we play 3 games in Adelaide on club grounds over there. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure many people in Clubland on the line today can relate to that fact of protocols changing, and we're all having to be very adaptable at the moment. Do you think, being new to the role, and I should congratulate you as well, obviously you've been in for a while, but awesome achievement, obviously being appointed as head coach of our men's team in Victorian cricket. Do you think being new in the role has maybe helped you in terms of that needing to be adaptable, in that maybe you didn't have set plans and structures in place, or has it not really had too much of an impact?
Good question. I think, I mean, my focus has been more about getting to know the players themselves. We've had some challenges around that because we're sharing with the women's team as well. So we haven't been able to go into the facility all the time, but look, I think I've had enough time with them now. As for your question, it's hard to know. I think maybe it would have been easier coming in different times, but I guess this way around, you know, there's a lot of unknown, and guys are a little bit more open to what's about to happen. So yeah, I think that we're in a pretty good place, and I'm pretty grateful that we've got some excellent assistant coaches and people like Sean Graff who've really got the team in a good position already. So as I've kind of said a couple of times, it feels like I'm jumping on a moving train and trying to hang on because so many things were already happened. So yeah, very privileged.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that note, you sort of mentioned around getting to know the players. I'm sure there's a mix of players who are really comfortable with being adaptable and flexible, and perhaps those that prefer a lot of clarity and structure around what they're doing. How are they managing with that, and how are you managing those differences between players?
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations going around now. I think the word I was looking for in the last answer was vulnerable. I think that the players are probably are pretty open and vulnerable at the moment, just because they don't know what's coming their way. So yeah, we're having good conversations around it. We don't know what's going to happen when we get into quarantine. I think, or even hub life. I think the Australian side are currently in the Adelaide Oval Hotel at the moment, and that's where we're going to go. So we're getting a bit of feedback about what's that like. From the sounds of it, it's not the worst life in the world, but the food's good. You know, the rooms are good, and you get to go and train every day. So yeah, I imagine there's going to be a few guys who get lost in their thoughts a bit, but you know, hopefully we'll all be able to support each other and get through that period.
I think it's a great point. There'd be lots of people on the call again who'd love to be able to go out in the nets every day at the moment. But I think vulnerable is a great word. I was sort of going to touch on that well-being element, which I think is certainly something that's been spoken about at an elite level, and you mentioned support staff. And I think it's probably a conversation that's being had more at community level as well, and you're sort of talking there about being vulnerable, being there to support each other. Do you have many thoughts around that well-being side of things, and what your role is as a coach, and maybe things that people in Clubland, you know, being in isolation, we're really starting to understand the important role that community organisations can play in connecting people in communities. In your context, what do you see as your role as a coach, and the role that sport can play in helping people with that? Yeah,
I think firstly, from my own point of view, I mean, as a player coming out and then moving into the real world, as sometimes it feels like, not playing sport for a living, it's been really important to have a good network around to bounce ideas off and to be there to kind of fill my tank when I need it. You know, someone who can just, or some people who can help me get through the tough times. So just talking to the players, I think sometimes we tend to take a lot on ourselves, and particularly the players, that they don't want to be vulnerable in many respects, but I've been speaking to them a little bit about creating that network where they do have those people they can turn to who they know are gonna look after them. There's always, if you can have too many and get some negative feedback as well. So it's just about creating that network, I think, for these young athletes and making sure that, when they are down, because they're going to be down at times, that they have the right support mechanisms around them. And we have Mary Spillane, who is our kind of head of wellbeing, there to support the boys at every turn as well. So we're fortunate in that way.
I think there's still a lot of parallels there for community cricket that people can take away in terms of that. We've got the Are You OK days and those kind of things where we're trying to encourage those conversations. On community cricket, I'd love to hear a bit about your experience coming through the junior pathway and what clubs you played at and what those experiences were like for you.
I grew up in Perth, so it seems it's very different. I've said it a few times to other people, but Melbourne is one of the most unique places I've ever played cricket at, just because everyone wants to be, all the cricketers I found wanted to be AFL football players. But in Perth, it was slightly different. But I still think about all the people who looked after me at a couple of the clubs that I played for when I was an aspiring young player. And some of them who still contact me and I contact them. And even now when I've come to Melbourne, probably the greatest network of friends I have is from Prahran Cricket Club, which is where I played the majority of my club cricket. It's not even necessarily the guys I played with for Victoria. It was more the guys I played with at Prahran. So, to have those people around you, I think, exceptionally important, and you should never forget your roots, or where you grew up and who supported you through those young kind of tough days.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message for some of the people on the line. Like, as people around community cricket clubs, we can have a really big impact on people's lives. And are there people that stand out for you? You sort of mentioned like players that you played with, but we had a national junior forum recently where Justin Langer and Matthew Mott spoke about the importance of some of their junior coaches. And I'm sure there's other people around clubs, volunteers and such, that maybe have had a big influence on you, maybe not just in your cricket career, but as a part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys like Rod Redmond, who was a coach at South Perth. His son, actually, Aaron, played for New Zealand, and Rod played for New Zealand. If you ever want to look up his stats, he averaged about 70 and got dropped after 2 tests, I think. So, and then there was a guy named Lee Bott at University of WA who helped me through a lot of periods and just little things like that. They're players, they're people who are going back 25 years, I guess. And I still have fond memories of all those people and the people that that I played with coming through as well. So those are the memories you take with you, I guess, throughout your life, and some of the ones that shape you, so you tend not to forget them.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Look, we do have to wrap up, but again, really appreciate your time and thanks for joining us. One to finish on, you've mentioned your practice matches. Any performances of note, or maybe some players that we should be watching out for, maybe that have come through clubs that are online today?
The Junction Oval or City Power Stadium has been pretty flat as always, so the batsmen have tend to have the upper hand. So today, Will Pukowski and Nick Madison both got hundreds. They're in a really good place, and I think 2 of the other players that have had a taste in Jake Fraser McGurk and Will Parker are going to be very special young players, I think. Will Parker's actually not coming away with us because he's doing his Year 12 exam, so it's quite extraordinary, really. But when you think how old I am, but yes, it's and then the other one is Mitch Perry. I think we'll hear a lot about him. He's a young fast bowler who I think will probably start to make his name this year.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Really appreciate your time. Back to you, J-Dub.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Emma. Thank you very much, Chris. Great insights there, both from since you've commenced and just on your own cricket story and your own cricket journey. So again, thank you for that. And also thanks, Emma Gallagher. Okay, before I pass to Jason Mathers, who's our area manager in the Southeast, Clinton, if you could just move on to the next slide. I think this season, there's no doubt about this season, it's going to be a challenge for our associations. And looking at the questions, Tim Joyce has asked some questions around scorebooks for junior formats and cost of balls and things. All real issues for clubs. Hopefully people were able to access the $1,000 from the state government recently. We had 732 clubs access that, and that fund is reopened again until mid-October. So Qriket have collectively done very, very well there, and a number of associations also received funding from that state government pot of money. So some good support there. I'll follow up, Tim, with you around the scorebooks. It's a good question around junior formats. It's a really critical part of our junior program and part of our retention. But we do have a wonderful opportunity this year, not only as we look to retain all of our players or simply get our players back from season 19-20, but we also have a great opportunity to really open our clubs, even just to connect people. We won't be able to socialise initially, perhaps, as we'd all like, but just the opportunity to train, to play, and to have all the connection and benefits that come with being engaged at our clubs is going to be critical. I think the opportunity this year more than any, I think people are going to be looking for those really strong connections. And we know that apart from the COVID-19 and making sure that we've got all of our policies and procedures in place, our signage, that opportunity to connect cannot be undermined at this stage. So without further ado, I will pass to Jason Mathers. So Jason, all yours for the next couple of slides.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time tonight, everyone out there as well. One thing I really wanted to bring up, we've got Langer, coach of the Australian team. We've got Matthew Mott, coach of the Australian women's team and World Cup winners. And we've got Chris Rogers, coach of the Victorian team, all nuggety left-hand opening batsmen. So being one of those myself, I absolutely love that. So it's a good little stat there. But the field force have been working on meaningful support of associations and clubs. Obviously, COVID's a massive part of that. And looking at the questions that have come through today, we really want you to contact your local field force staff, and we'll help you, guide you through and support you in trying to get clubs open for business and back up again. Our community needs some interaction, and Qriket can play a really big part in that. And we're going to do everything we can to support you. This also leads into one of the other things we're working on, is Qriket Australia junior formats, which is designed to help clubs retain players and create strong, sustainable clubs. The key program underpinning the pathway is the Woolworths Cricket Blast. And in metropolitan Melbourne last season, we had a 17% increase, which is absolutely fantastic effort from our coordinators out there who are all volunteers and do a great job. We're working really, really closely with our clubs on ways we can get the program up and running once guidelines allow. We've also got an exciting news about a new program called Cricket Blast Anywhere, which is going to be a program online to keep our Woolworths Cricket Blasters connected to our clubs until we can deliver face-to-face programs. So we've got Peter Siddle involved in that, and we're going to have some activities, 6 weeks worth, and this is going to be released on October 12th. So stay tuned for more news there. You'll get that through your field force, and we'll get that information out to our clubs, associations, and our volunteers. Junior formats is designed to sort of help keep kids in the game and give everyone a good experience. And we're seeing some really good success out there. We've had a 7% increase in junior teams across Metro Melbourne competitions. And a massive part of that has been the growth in female junior girls cricket, which has also seen a 19% increase in junior girls across metropolitan Melbourne. And this is down to some great work from our volunteers, clubs and associations, and you should be really proud of that. Another thing we've been working with clubs and associations on is child safety policies. And the work that clubs have done has seen cricket leading the way in providing a safe environment for kids to play a great game. Really, really important. If you could just jump to the next slide, please, Clint. So we've got heaps of online resources and support. And if you can see on the screen there, www.cricketvictoria.com.au, clubs and associations, we've got some fantastic tools there. And information, we want to make it as easy as we possibly can for our volunteers to access and make it easy as we can for you to run your clubs. One of the key things on there, a couple of key things, there's a Woolworths Cricket Blast app, which you can also download, and that can run your whole program for you. You can contact your parents. There's videos on there on what skill-based activities you can run and games you can run. You can set up your whole program through it. So it's a great resource to help volunteers. Also, one thing I wanted to mention as well is the grants page. Please get on there, search for the grants page, get it open, and try and find someone at your club and dedicate their role to applying for grants. We've got a whole list of them. They're listed on when they close. So we'd love to see as many cricket clubs, as John mentioned earlier, that have already applied for some of the grants. Next slide, please, Clint. So hopefully most of you have seen this picture, and this is how we've set up again. We've retained our regional structure, and we've got 4 area teams that service the 17 regions. So if you've got any topics that you want covered, and please don't hesitate to contact any of our team here on the page. We've got our East team led by Clint Kennan. We've got Chris Harris leading the team in the West. We've got Ben DeRuse leading into the Northwest Country, and myself in the Southeast. So please contact us, get in contact with us. I've been reading some of the questions, trying to answer as many as we can. And a lot of these things we've been working on with our clubs is part of our job to assist you. So please get in contact with us, and we'll do everything we can to get you back up and running. So back to you, John.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jason. And again, just thanks to Chelsea and also Nicole, our Auslan interpreters, who are doing a great job there. Clinton, if you could just move on to the next slide. I think this is Jason has very clearly articulated what's happening in community cricket. So what I might do now, good timing, we'll pass on to Dean Russ, who's going to talk us through some of our opportunities and what's coming up in the player pathway for the coming season. Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, John, and thank you all for tuning in. I'd just like to introduce our coaching and talent specialists for this season. We've got a wealth of knowledge in the sporting industry and the cricketing industry. Shane Coop is going to oversee a big region that is the country. Shane's been heavily involved in cricket for a long time and has had extensive experience playing Premier Cricket. Tom Evans, who some of you have worked very closely with, will be overseeing the West, Northwest, Inner East, Outer East and North Metro. Again, it is a big undertaking. However, he does have a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience, both in Premier Cricket and international, where he worked closely with Cricket USA. And Guy McKenna, who a lot of you will know as we are an AFL state, an AFL Hall of Famer, and has an absolute wealth of knowledge in the coaching realms and in the high performance sphere. And he will oversee the Southeast Victoria. I firstly just want to thank everyone that have been involved in the pathway and the representative cricket. I truly understand it's a very passionate topic, and we're here to try and continue to uplift and give as many opportunities as possible for our talented players. As it has been announced, unfortunately the statewide competition, as it was previously known, is on pause for this season. And I want to be very clear with this, is that it is an absolute critical part to continue with a statewide competition moving forward. But for this season, as it's been mentioned, the absolute priority is to get club cricket up and running, and then where possible, give localised representative opportunities. One of the key catchphrases is the build the base. So we want to try and work in very closely, specifically for this forum, the VMCU. So the Allen and the Beitzel Shield, the Savage and Jones Shield, and then with the sub-districts, that being the Craig Shield for the January representative school holiday period. Our coaching and talent specialists will tie in very closely. We're also working very closely with our YPL coaches to try and connect in with associations to make sure it's the best experience possible. The coaching and talent specialists will get to as many games as possible to also use this as a bona fide talent identification process that will help then formulate squads for 2021-22. We want to try and encourage brave competition management, and that being we want to see positive brands of cricket. We want to see and replicate games that are like senior cricket, that are like on the TV, where the fields are set, the games open up, the talented players are able to spin the ball hard, bowl fast, swing the ball, and take the game on. And where possible, as mentioned, we'll attend as many games as possible, connect in where we can with all the coaches. And one of the key litmus elements for this season will be the series ratings, where we actually utilise all the coaches' IP, those that have coached in the VMCU competitions, in the Craig Shield competitions, to actually get some series ratings to make sure that we're utilising, as I said, the coach expertise, the IP, to actually help formulate squads for the following year. And where possible, we've been working closely with Mark Keating and Phil O'Meara from the sub-district, is the potential of any all-star opportunities, which will actually be embedded into the 21-22 model, which I'll delve into in a minute. And the other thing, our commitment is to make sure that we connect in with all the coaches that are involved in representative cricket, and try and uplift and deliver as many coaching masterclasses, as many sessions as possible, connect in, whether it be just a chat over the phone, a coffee, anything talking coaching, because one of the things we're really passionate about is making sure that the experiences a coach gives to our players, our meaning players across Victoria, will hopefully make sure that they love the game. We're all on this call because we love the game, and we want to make sure that those experiences are as good as they possibly can be. Also, while I'm on the topic of coaching, I understand that there's been a lot of inquiries around the community coach course and the representative coaching courses. As Jason Mathers spoke to about the coach app, Coaching Australian Way app, that is a fantastic resource. It's almost like the coaching Bible. We'll be starting to look to integrate this app with our coaching courses, and once we're able to, we will absolutely start to offer community coaching courses. For regional Victoria, we're going to be starting in the next couple of weeks and offering that once we can, because they can move out of their 5K radius. Once we're able to do that, we'll be certainly doing the same thing. In terms of the representative coaching course, we will and have been wanting to offer this throughout, but as we're all aware of the situation, this has been quite difficult. We're planning on offering a couple of courses in February, depending on the demand. The thing just to consider is that as we still have professional cricketers working out of the City Power Centre at the moment, we're just still working through how we can start to integrate public, and we can start to access a lot of the facilities there and deliver some representative coaching courses. Finally, before I get into the next year's model, and this is not a bad little segue, Premier Cricket are going to offer competitions for some of the talented aspirational players for season 2021. In the male space, we'll be looking at delivering an under 16 competition. Now, I want to be very clear on this, is that it will not impact the January school holiday representative period. Our commitment is to build the base, and that will continue. And we'll work with Premier clubs to make sure that we use that again as a bona fide talent identification process. And with the females, they'll be looking at delivering an under 18 Premier competition, which is a fantastic result. And again, that'll flow into what I'll present next slide. Thanks, Clinton. So moving and looking ahead, this is now a performance player pathway model that we're working towards. I must note that this has been approved and endorsed by the CV board, and we're very excited about cricket working together. One of the big things that we've been trying to work towards is streamlining the player pathway, where we're not competing against each other, we're actually working together. So for the male pathway, we'll be looking at uplifting the existing structure of association rep cricket. So specifically, the Russell Allen Shield, we want that to be one of the first representative experiences that young, aspiring, talented players are involved in. And we're trying to just get them to be exposed at representative cricket, playing in their associations. One of the big things that it has been underpinned in this model is extensive research around early specialisation, and we're trying to move away from the 13-year-old that's potentially missed on a statewide competition and all of a sudden their hopes and dreams of playing for Victoria or Australia are decimated. We know that the talent pathway isn't a linear thing, and we certainly understand and appreciate that people develop at a different rate. On that, we are working closely with the VMCU and the Craig Shield or the subbies to make sure that those that are under 14 strongly recommend they play in the Russell Allen Shield, and then those that are under 15 play in the Craig Shield. So again, we're just trying to streamline that to make it as clear as possible, particularly for a non-cricketing family. And again, as I mentioned in the previous slide, it's trying to embed this all-star concept. So out of the Russell Allen and the Craig Shield for the 21-22 model, we're going to work very closely with the associations and provide as much resources as we possibly can to create all-star games for those that have performed really well in those competitions, to give additional match opportunities, and that'll hopefully start to formulate the statewide Youth Premier League competition as we've seen there. And it is imperative that we keep a statewide competition for this moving forward for the health of Victorian cricket, because we don't want players' postcodes dictating their opportunity. So if a player's from Mildura down to Newport, across to Brighton, up to Orbost, everyone deserves the same opportunity to represent Victoria, and we're here to help assist that. And we're very strong on that. And that'll align to the under-17s emerging player program and delve into the high performance realm. And then to help with the player's journey, we're going to look to, sorry, we'll just go back one tick, mate. To help with that player's journey is to then connect Premier Cricket as an under-18 Premier competition, because it is really important that we connect those talented aspirational players into Premier Cricket. The realities are you've got to be playing Premier Cricket to play for Victoria, and we want to make sure that those talented players are getting that opportunity to transition to a club, but more importantly, give them an opportunity, additional opportunities to showcase their talent. One of the key stats we found was that there is 66% of players that are in the under-18s that are aligned to clubs. They're playing in the 3s and 4s. So we just want to make sure that they're getting those additional opportunities. If a wicketkeeper is playing in a lower grade, it gets them the chance to showcase their talent. If a spinner is their 3rd or 4th bowler, it gives them the chance to highlight their talent. This will then also align nicely with the under-18 national championships, as well as our talent identification process. So again, be very clear, we're here to develop a robust coach network. We want to provide series ratings to associations, and it actually connects and streamlines this whole process. And we want to really work together to connect Premier clubs and associations. And then those that are not aligned to a Premier club, we're there to try and help facilitate. In the female space, this is exactly the same. The only difference, major difference, is that at the under 15 level will be the Youth Premier League for the 21-22. The reason being is it actually connects and aligns to the national championships that will happen the following year, which will be at an under 16 age group. So again, it's just the performances through the Youth Premier League. We want that to help formulate the Qriket Victoria High Performance Emerging Players Program. And again, we've been able to work that, build the base at an association level, help connect aspirational players, connect to the YPL, then into Premier Cricket, and then hopefully onto further and higher honours. The other thing I did forget to mention in the previous slide, for those that are interested, the under 17 and under 16 national championships for this season is on hold. But what we have done is organised our own pseudo national championships for our talented under 17 male players and our talented under 16 female players. That will occur in the back end of January, where we'll connect with South Australia, and it will be played out of Hamilton. And then for the females, we'll be looking to connect with Cricket New South Wales, and we'll be playing games out in Wodonga. So we're still absolutely committed to giving the talented players additional opportunities and the chance to represent Victoria, both in the metro and the country. So that's some of the things that has been going on. As I said, I understand there's been a lot of changes for this season, but again, we're really here to give as many opportunities as possible, but also with a view to 21-22 and again, cricket working together. Thank you.
Clinton's just going to work us through some of the resources that will be helpful just before we pass on to Adam Renfrey. Thanks, Clinton.
Thanks, John. So what we've got on the page at the moment is some of the key links and resources for all our community clubs. So we've obviously, and Jason and Dean and others have spoken about this already, but obviously communitycricket.com for all the school program information. So it's a valuable website. Paul updated around COVID-19. I know there's been a few questions tonight about COVID support. We have run some webinars and resources already on COVID, and we will be looking at another specific COVID update. But all that information for those people on the call tonight is now on the website. Obviously, Jason spoke about the club support, and also look for Facebook pages as well around Cricket Victoria, Coach Force, and all the region pages, because they update a lot of the information that we're also providing to community cricket. So these will be provided, these links as well. So if you do want a copy of them, they'll be put up later on the website. What I'll do now is I'll pass you on to our State Infrastructure Manager, Adam Renfrey, and he'll go through around some infrastructure news.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in tonight. It's great to see such a great number of stakeholders on the line. So we really felt like tonight provided a really good opportunity to profile some of our work in the community infrastructure space. Firstly, I'd just really like to touch on the Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund, or better known as the ACIF. I know a number of you out there are probably aware of the program, and if not, potentially made an application to the program throughout the past couple of years. But the ACIF is our partnered community infrastructure fund that CV manages on behalf of Cricket Australia and also the Australian Cricketers Association. So Really, in essence, the core purpose of the fund is for cricket to partner with stakeholders to develop permanent infrastructure projects that really firmly focus on driving participation growth in our game and bettering our game on the ground. So projects such as pitch replacements, ground redevelopments, training nets, pavilion upgrades are really a firm focus of that fund. I'd really like to just touch on some of the successes of the 2019-20 program for ACIF. This is really built off the success that we had through our first year in 2018-19, which was again really successful. But just in terms of the 2019-20 program for ACIF, we recently closed that program and released notifications to all applicants early last week. Pleased to say that we received 105 applications from across the state, a fairly even split between both metropolitan and regional applicants. And through that process, we had 70 successful applicants within the program. So what that equates to is millions of dollars worth of partnered investment directly going to Victorian cricket infrastructure across the state, which is a fantastic result for the organisation and our clubs and associations. And I guess really my feel is the success of the program is testament to the relationships that our clubs and associations are forging on the ground with our government partners, and in particular at local government level. So really strong year for ACIF, and there'll be some great news stories to be unearthed across the next 12 months as those facilities and successful projects start to get built. From there, I'd just like to touch on the Victorian Government Community Cricket Program. So this is a state government program that was set up as part of the 2018 state election. So this funding came through the state election in 2018 directly to Victorian cricket infrastructure, which is fantastic for us. And again, really plays into that support which Andrew talked to earlier from the Victorian government. So just in terms of the Vic Government Community Cricket Program, first off, the Metropolitan Cricket and Community Centres. So state government is working with Greater Melbourne councils to develop up to 6 metropolitan cricket and community centres across the Greater Melbourne area. The idea behind these major projects is to provide the best training facilities locally throughout Greater Melbourne. Each of these projects will see an indoor training aspect. So again, highlighting the performance pathway aspect of these projects, as well as really providing a home and a regional home for community cricket training and education throughout Greater Melbourne. So there's some really exciting projects on the horizon there, and I'd expect that we'll see further news on the Metropolitan Cricket and Community Centres shortly through state government. Along with the community cricket program is the community facilities stream. So this is an annual program that operates within state government, direct with local government across Victoria. So applicants are coming from councils across the state. This is a 4-year program. We recently completed the first year of the program, and I'm pleased that Andrew had the opportunity to join Minister Ross Spence earlier last week to announce the 15 successful projects as part of that community facility stream. So again, highlighting the amazing support that we're receiving from Vic government, particularly in relation to infrastructure development, as well as some of the COVID aspects and grants available. While not directly related to metropolitan cricket, I thought it'd just be worthwhile just touching on our network of regional cricket and community centres. So again, this is very similar to the network that we're looking to develop within the metro region, but we also have a network of 8 regional cricket and community centres being developed across country Victoria. And each of those are in various stages of planning and development. And again, just highlighting providing the best training facilities locally throughout our regions, as well as providing a regional home for community cricket. So together with the metropolitan facilities, which are on the horizon, we are developing a really firm network of regional cricket and community centres across the next 3 to 5 years for supporting Victorian cricket, which is a great thing for the sport. Just to close on the presentation, I just really encourage those of you out there that are looking to plan infrastructure projects, please reach out to your regional cricket staff. There's a number of opportunities available to develop your local infrastructure, and they're really attuned with the opportunities that are available out there from a funding perspective. And I'd also really like to encourage open dialogue with your local governments. They're a key funder of our cricket infrastructure across the state. And look, just in summing up, we've had a really successful year in 2019-20 in infrastructure development off the back of some really strong state election outcomes, but there is definitely a lot to look forward to for cricket infrastructure development in season 2021. So thank you for your time tonight, and thank you, John.
Thanks very much, Adam. And just before we pass on to Andrew, just to round off the night, we've had a couple of questions, and the timing's good, around the role of Premier Cricket with our community clubs. And off the back of what Dean Russ has spoken about with the YPL, we've been working with the Premier Cricket Strategy Group, which was established about 12 months ago, on a Premier Cricket strategy. And that strategy is pretty well finalised now, and that's been a close collaboration between the Premier clubs and Cricket Victoria. Now, part of that sits in with, as we know, Dean's outlined the YPL, but essentially we'll be looking over the next 12 months as to how we can work together, because a key part of our community cricket and the success of our talent pathways and our club networks is that ability to connect and build a cricket ecosystem where players can flow in and out of Premier Cricket back to local clubs. And we have a cycle where we're really starting to build smoother transitions. Now, we know that that's an area that's been identified, and Andrew and I were speaking again to Mark Sundberg today, and I know Mark's been speaking to the subbies and also to Mark Keating as well, and also the VCCL. So we're working together, and we'll keep you in touch with that. And some of those practical things could be coaching back to your local club days, Premier clubs having their players offering to coach teams in your rep competitions as well. So we're really starting to build a closer connection, and Premier clubs are looking to do that as well, as are a lot of community clubs as part of their work to develop their players. Obviously, it's a two-way street, and we're committed to improving that. So stay tuned on that. And just to finish, I'll pass to Andrew Ingleton. Just that last slide. Thank you, Clinton.
Yeah, thank you, John. And thanks to everyone on the call tonight. Really appreciate you giving up your time, and I hope that there's been some useful information that you can take away. One thing I really hope is that you take away a clear message that we're determined to support you, and to quote Jason, in a meaningful and impactful way. We want to enable you to get your teams on the park and your clubs and associations up and running in this COVID-impacted season. From a longer-term perspective, we want to support you to grow participation sustainably, and substantially. And we'll support you to do that through a focus on quality experiences, flexible formats, effective coaching, and safe and inclusive environments. Also, from a long-term perspective, we're committed to helping ensure you have the facilities and infrastructure that you need to provide those quality and safe and inclusive environments for all of your players. We're also committed to developing young players and the coaches who support them. So I hope you take those messages away. And I guess finally, in a season where the importance of community sport just cannot be underestimated, we're totally committed to supporting you to provide opportunities for more Victorians than ever before to come and play. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you out around the traps during the season.
Thanks, Andrew. And just to finish, I'd like to just thank Nicole and Chelsea, our Auslan interpreters, for their work. Thank you for your questions. We're working through answers now. We look forward to seeing many of you on the webinars that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. Again, stay tuned for the COVID-19 resource updates that are regular, and of course our fortnightly club and association newsletters, which get distributed every second Friday. Finally, again, we would have loved to have done this face-to-face, and looking ahead, we will be looking to do this as a regular feature, and I know that I'm certainly looking forward to at some stage getting out and watching some local cricket, particularly in the country and some of the metro areas when the rep cricket starts up. So again, reach out to your local field staff if you've got questions. We're available and we're really looking to support and help you. Thanks for your attendance, and we look forward to being in contact with you shortly in some way, shape or form. Stay safe. Good night.